All right, so Jack, why don't you start off by kind of introducing yourself a little bit?
Hey there, my name is Jack Lejko. Um, I'm a follower of Christ, and some things that I used to do, I used to play football, I used to play rugby, and I used to wrestle. Now I'm going to the University of Maryland to study kinesiology and hopefully become a physical therapist. So that's just a little bit about me.
Awesome. Now you mentioned that you were a follower of Christ. It's kind of
Mhm.
how'd your faith journey kind of start? Has it been lifelong, or is it something you picked up
It was something that was
later?
lifelong. It was introduced to me by my parents when I was young, but I never really understood what it truly meant. It was always like, it felt like a chore to go to church or like, you know, like faith for me was never um like a super huge part until my sophomore year of high school. I was talking to this guy, Evan Thompson. Maybe somebody, knows him. Somebody watching this knows him. He's a really cool dude. And he in middle school was a very different person, right? But he devoted his life to Christ. And in high school, I noticed that like he was a totally different person. And I always saw his Instagram messages and like stories and stuff. So I reached out to him and started going to church with him. And then from there, it all blossomed. Got baptized in April of 2023. And here we're going.
That's awesome, man. Now what's the journey been like? What's been, have you noticed any like differences between your life before, starting to come go to church and be baptized and all that stuff versus after that?
I would say that there was a substantial change as far as my actions and behaviors. Even the people that I hung out with changed a little bit. Just kind of who I was morphed into something that was different. Started to place a bigger emphasis on like other people. Before I was all about myself, and even to some extent, I mean, I would say that I still am, but I've been trying to do a lot better job of putting others before myself.
And that's definitely easier said than done, for sure.
For sure, yeah.
What other traits have you learned from following God? Is it more like the fruits of the spirit, the love, learning to love others more, anything, any other like behavior or changes in habits that you kind of notice?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said before, to like love other people or put other people first, that was a huge thing. But also, one of the biggest things and something I still struggle with is patience. I noticed that I struggle to have patience sometimes with people. Like I get short with them. So being able to be, more understanding of other people's perspectives and stuff like that, that's something that I've been trying to work on.
Yeah, I know patience is definitely not easy for me either, but I respect that you're working to get better in that area for sure. What's one of your favorite verses, if you have one?
Proverbs, Proverbs 27:17 is my favorite verse. It says, "As iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another."
And what does that verse kind of mean to you? What does that kind of
So
mean?
So getting welcomed into the church, I realized how much fellowship and being surrounded with other people, like-minded people was. And so when reading this verse, it just like it jumped out to me. Like I was like, wow, like no, that's actually really true. Like other people really do sharpen you. And also it just kind of sounds cool. Like as iron sharpens iron, so one person sharpens another. I don't know. It sounds cool. So I was like, I like this.
Yeah, that's definitely a good one. You're talking about how you're able to strengthen others for sure. What's been some of your, if you could pick like one like struggle and one victory in this new walk with Christ, what might those be?
So my junior year of high school, I was battling with an injury. You can probably see there's like a little scar on my wrist. So I basically broke this bone in my hand called the scaphoid bone, and this was kind of right as I was starting to get into like following God more seriously. Started going to church around a similar time, like that same year, things like that. So I had kind of just started my walk with God, but simultaneously had like been dealing with this injury. And so doctors told me, I mean, I went to a few different guys, but they all kind of came to the consensus of like, it's going to be very difficult for you to continue playing contact sports. And basically, one guy, he had to give me surgery. He had to put like a metal rod into my wrist through the bone to like help it heal. So it has been very difficult because whilst I still play my senior year of football, it was like almost impossible to keep playing through like the wrestling season and rugby because of like mobility limitations. And through this whole time, it's like it's something that's really like debilitating. Like when you work so hard for something and then you're just like it all gets wiped away. So that's something that I struggle with like mostly. Like that's something that I just felt like it felt kind of unfair to me, but I just had to understand that like there's another path for me in my life that isn't down that route.
Yeah, that's good stuff because that's real because it's hard to trust God, especially when your plans kind of go not how you want them to. And I totally get what you mean about it not being fair because you think, well, what did I do to deserve this? But I think, and you could tell me if I'm wrong, God's kind of been able to show how his plans may not be your plans, but in the same way they all kind of work together for good. Maybe that allowed you to be closer to him. What do you I don't know, what do you
Definitely, I would say that that is very true. Like I guess I see it as a path that he doesn't want me down. Like maybe because of going down that path, it would cause other, like harm or problems in my future that he would have saw. And he was like, that's not for you. Or maybe I meet a certain person or help guide other people towards the light because of it. Like I know, for instance, I talked at my church about it, and I mean, like hearing from other people afterwards, a lot of people felt like they said that they were inspired by it, or like that, you know, that they could apply into their lives, understanding that like even when they fall down and things don't go their way, that there's still light at the end of the tunnel and God's still there for you. So I guess being able to like take that and just kind of turn into a story and try to like, you know, understand that that's just the route that God wanted me to take. Like it's a different route that God wants me to take.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good, awesome, awesome. All right, here's just kind of a simple, plain and simple question. Why do you love Jesus?
I mean, there's a lot of reasons why. I could go here and like label all these reasons, but I would say ultimately it comes in the end of Matthew chapter like 27ish, I believe, like around chapter 26, 27, and that's the crucifixion of Christ and just understanding like that he laid down his life and like the horrible things that he went through uh for me, like for the things that I've done. I think that's just like there's nothing greater than that. Like somebody literally laying down their life for you. And in that way, I can't not feel like honored. I cannot feel like I don't want to have a relationship with him.
That's a good answer. Good answer. I know crucifixion is tough because you don't want to see somebody you love go through all that stuff, but the
No.
fact that he did that for us really like shows just how much Jesus loves us.
Yeah, seriously.
All right, now heading into home stretch here. So, what would you kind of say? Because for people who are kind of unsure about following Jesus, you've kind of had that conversion, if you will, from
Mhm.
from a non-follower to a follower. What would you say to other people who may be interested or unsure about trying to commit to following Christ?
So there's two routes to go about this. There's like the more logical route, like through like evidence-based reasons, and then there's the more like I guess emotional or like pathological way. So kind of as I said earlier, the pathological way, like somebody who already believes that Jesus really did like, die and rise from the grave, like somebody who has the faith already instilled in them, like that they might believe in it, but why they should put more, emphasis into their faith. I would suggest reading Matthew chapter 27 through 29, I believe, and that would be the crucifixion of Christ. Reading that will completely change your view on it, right? Just seeing the things that Jesus went through and died for you, like that'll that'll really inspire a lot of people, I feel. And then the more logical way, like not as much emotional but more evidence based. The way that I look at it is like there was all these disciples, right? And they write down their stories and tell people across the lands after Jesus had died about all the things that he did, right? So it gets written down into books called, like books of the Bible, right? And so I feel like the evidence behind that is all these disciples, like based on evidence of like historical records and things like that, they died horrible deaths for the cause of spreading the word of Jesus Christ, like spreading the word of the gospel. And because of that, I can't see why people would lay down their life that many people lay down their life knowing that they would die horrible deaths for a lie. Like, why would they lie about that? So I guess from that reasoning, I would say people who don't believe in it, I would just look back and say, like, why would the disciples all lay down their life for something if it wasn't really true? If Jesus, he didn't really die and resurrect from the grave, if the Bible wasn't really saying what happened, what is true.
That's a good roadmap for sure for starters. And then the last kind of question here, Jack, kind of puts you a little bit on the spot, but not quite. What's something that you want to strive to improve in your faith going forward? Maybe like between now and the end of the summer when you start at Maryland.
Mhm. I would say that's like a hard thing to quantify as far as goals. There could be like I could say that I could like have a oh, you know what it is? So me and my roommate, we were talking about this actually. Uh, from the time that we get to the University of Maryland till we leave for the summer, we want to read through the entirety of the book of the entire Bible. So that'll be quite the event. I mean, trying to read 365 or in 365 days, trying to read the entirety of the Bible. So that might be what I'm going to go for is read the entire Bible cover to cover from Genesis to Revelation.
That's a good goal. Now, just kind of to follow up on that, what do you hope to get out from that? Is there like a specific like theme that you want to see? Are you just going to kind of read and see how
Mhm.
God speaks to you? Because I'm sure He will in many
Yeah,
different passages throughout.
I guess there's a few reasons. One thing would be like consistency. By having a goal in sight of like, I want to do this big thing, you have like the understanding that you have to be consistently doing it, consistently reading through a long period of time in order to achieve that goal. So I would say first is to get consistency with me reading my Bible. But two, I would say it's like having a close relationship with God because by spending that time, putting in that effort and understanding the word and reading the entirety of it, there's gonna be a lot of things that I haven't uncovered myself over, the time that I spend reading. So I'm going to look more into things that I haven't seen before or am like loosely understood on. And by doing this, I feel like I'm going to have a better relationship coming out of it.
That's awesome. That's really ambitious of you to try and read the whole Bible, but I think that's a worthy goal. And I think there's going to be a whole lot of gems in there that you're probably going to find as you kind of uncover, things that you may have heard or read differently. I find that like when I read a passage that I've read before, and I like
Hmm.
see like new things each time. So I'm really
Yeah,
you'll have to keep us updated on like how that's going and what kind of gems you're picking out from as you go through the Bible because I think that's a really cool goal, and I know that you and roommate will be able to achieve it.
absolutely.
Well, Jack, I appreciate your time coming on the channel and sharing a little bit about your faith. Greatly appreciate it, and hope to have you back soon.
It's been excellent. Thank you for having me on. I can wish you only the best and God bless.